मैं स्टार्ट कर दूं क्या?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. So today we will be seeing about climate change and loss in biodiversity. So first let us start with definition of climate change. So what is climate change? A long-term change in the Earth's climate, especially a change due to an increase in the average atmospheric temperature. So the changes that occur in the weather patterns over a significant period are known as climate change. For example, you have experienced in the month of December, it was raining. So the season of in the month of December was winter season, but we had a rain that time. So that was the reason of a climate change. Climate change describes a change in average conditions such as temperature and rainfall in a region over a long period of time. For example, over 2000 years ago, much of United States were covered in glaciers. In the United States today, we have warmer climate and fewer glaciers. Global climate change refers to average long-term changes over the entire Earth. This include warming temperatures and changes in precipitation, as well as effects of Earth's warming such as rising sea level, shrinking mountain glaciers, ice melting at faster rates than usual in Greenland, Antarctica, and the Arctic, changes in flower and plant blooming times, etc. Earth's climate has constantly been changing even long before humans came into the picture. However, scientists have observed unusual changes recently. For example, Earth's average temperature has been increases much more quickly than they would expect over past 150 years. So according to UNFCCC, that is Framework Convention on Climate Change, in its Article 1 defines climate change as change of climate which is attributed directly or indirectly to human activity that alters the composition of global atmosphere, which is in addition to natural climate variability observed over comparable time periods. So climate change can be natural or caused by changes people made to the land or atmosphere. So basically climate change is divided in two parts, natural and man-made. So let us see natural first. Natural causes.
The natural causes of climate change refer to the natural factors and activities that change the Earth's atmosphere that occur mostly automatically rather than people's contribution. The 9 natural causes of climate change are solar variation. Solar variation means emitting different amount of radiation from the sun. The sunspots and solar variations have raised the Earth's temperature by about 0.1 degrees Celsius. Second one, volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruption means emitting huge gas, flash, lava, rock, and dust from the planet's surface. Volcano eruption is one of the most devastating natural disasters that change the climate. Axial tilt. Axial tilt is a crucial natural cause of climate change that receives more and less solar radiation based on the position. Axial tilt refers to the Earth's angle between the orbital plane and the equatorial plane during rotation. Fourth one, precession. Precession refers to the moment in the orientation of the rotational axis due to the gravitational force of the sun and moon. If it's leaning towards the sun, it gets more heat. On the other hand, the earth gets less heat if it leans away from the sun. The earth's precession affects climate change. Fifth one, eccentricity. Eccentricity is also known as orbital eccentricity, describes how the earth moves around the sun. It is also known as the orbital parameter that controls the amount of solar radiation received by the earth. Sixth, continental drift. Continental drift refers to the slow movement of the earth's tectonic plates, also known as shifts in the earth's crust. Seventh, ocean current. The ocean current is the natural cause of climate change on the earth, formed from the continuous movement of the ocean water. It is generated from the ocean wind, gravitation of the moon, breaking waves, temperature, and rotation of the earth. The ocean current plays a crucial role in causing climate change by warming the earth. Eighth, natural forest fire. And the last one is greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases refers to the gases that change the climate by trapping infrared radiation or heat in the atmosphere. Now let's see the man-made causes.
Humans are also equally responsible for the climate changes. Some of the climate changes which are caused by humans are as follows. Humans are increasingly influencing the climate and the Earth's temperature by burning fossil fuels, cutting down forests, and farming livestock. These adds enormous amounts of greenhouse gases to those naturally occurring in the atmosphere, which increases the greenhouse effects and global warming. Industrialization is harmful in a variety of ways. The waste this industry produces all ends up in landfills or in our surrounding environment. Waste humans create more waste now than ever before because of the amount of packaging used and the short life cycles of products. By looking at the pie chart, we will get a brief idea there where humans cause more of the climate changes. Burning fossil fuels is around 49%. Agricultural is around 13%. Deforestation 14% and industrial process is around 24%.
Greenhouse and their resources. Greenhouse, also called a greenhouse, or if with a sufficient heating, a hothouse, is a structure with a walls and roof made chiefly of a transparent material such as glass, in which plants required regulate climate condition or growth. This structure range in the size from small sheds to industrial size buildings. A mixture greenhouse is known as a cold frame. The interior of the greenhouse exposed to sunlight becomes insufficiently warmer than the external temperature, protecting its content in the cold weather. Resource of the greenhouse. First one is methane, which comes from landfills, coal mines, agriculture, and oil and natural gas operations. Second one is nitrous acid, that is N2O2, which comes from using a nitrogen fertilizers and certain industrials and waste management process and burning of fossil fuels.
Because of the global climate is connected system, climate change impacts are felt everywhere. The most important climate change impacts are rising sea level. Climate change impacts rising sea level. Average sea level around the world rose by 8 inches, that is 20 centimeters in the past 100 years. Climate scientists expect it to rise more and more rapidly in the next 100 years as a part of climate change impacts. Melting ice. Climate change impacts within the next 100 years. The worst glaciers will disappear, as will the polar ice cap and the huge Atlantic ice shelf, torrential downpours, and more powerful storm. Heat waves and droughts. Despite downpours in some places, droughts and prolonged heat waves will become common. The heat waves that we are experiencing currently in Maharashtra are the example of such heat waves. Changing ecosystem. As the world warms, entire ecosystem will move. Changes in marine and freshwater biological systems associated with rising water temperature, as well as related changes in ice cover, salinity, oxygen levels, and circulation. Ocean acidification with an average decrease in pH of 0.1 units. Reduced food security. One of the most striking impacts of rising temperature is felt in global agriculture. Although these impacts are felt very differently in larger temperate developed world and in the more tropically developing world. Different crops grow best in quite specific temperatures. And when those temperatures changes, their productivity changes significantly. Temperature and food production. Rising temperature favors agricultural pests, disease, and disease vectors. Pet production are on the rise, and illness once found only is limited. Tropical areas are now becoming endemic in such wider zone. Increase in temperature also increases the reproduction rate of microbes and insects, spreading up the rate at which they develop resistance to control measures and drugs. A problem already observed with malaria in Northeast Asia.
Remedies of climate change. The following solutions are considered among the efficient solution to reduce the progress of climate change. So basically there are three remedies of climate change. First, wind power. Second one is green buildings, and third one is methane leaks. So let's look at the first one, wind power. According to the EPA, wind power is the fastest growing energy resources in the world since 1990. Since wind turbines use the wind, a renewable source of energy, to generate electricity, it has little to no impact on the environment. Second, green buildings. Existed building emit CO2, that means carbon dioxide, because of their dependence on fossil fuels for energy, from air conditioning to electricity. Furthermore, the buildings that we live and work account for 30% of all greenhouse gases emissions. Using light bulbs that use less energy and more efficient heating and cooling system helps in reducing the amount of carbon dioxide that is being emitted from the buildings. Therefore, that reduces our dependency on fossil fuel for electricity, resulting in a reduction of greenhouse gases emission. And last one is methane leaks. Methane is greenhouse gas that contributes to the progress of climate change. Natural gas and petroleum systems are also considered among the main source of methane emission. Upgrading the equipment used in transferring, storing, and producing oil and gas can limit methane leaks. Climate change is the problem that is facing our planet, and it has progressed a lot after the Industrial Revolution. The emission of greenhouse gases has accelerated the progress of climate change and made our weather more intense. So, however, the dependence on fossil fuel for energy, transportation, and manufacturing have created a major obstacle for us to switch to renewable energy.
Biodiversity. Relentless pursuit of economic growth, coupled with climate change, has brought an unprecedented 1 million species at the doorstep of extinction. This is the finding of a landmark UN report known as the Global Assessment on the damage done by modern civilization to the natural world. The report, compiled by 145 expert authors from 50 countries, is based on the review of about 15,000 scientific and government sources. Also, the report is the first comprehensive look in 15 years at the state of planet's biodiversity. So let us look at what is biodiversity. Biodiversity is the number and variety of living organisms present in a specific geographical region. It includes various plants, animals, and microorganisms, the genes they have, and the ecosystem formed by them. So, in short, bio means life, diversity means variety. It relates to the diversity among living organisms on the earth, including the diversity within and between the species, and that within and between the ecosystem they form. The term biodiversity was coined by Walter J. Rosen in the year 1986. Biodiversity holds ecological and economic significances. It provides us with nourishment, housing, fuel, clothing, and several other resources. It also extracts monetary benefits through tourism. Therefore, it is very important to have a good knowledge of biodiversity for a sustainable livelihood.
Next is causes of loss of biodiversity. Biodiversity is a diversity of life on Earth is essential to the healthy functioning of ecosystem. Habitat loss and overexploitation driven by our rapid population growth are the primary causes of biodiversity loss, which is now happening up to 10,000 times faster than for millions of years before. Let us see some other causes of loss of biodiversity. First one is habitat destruction. Damaging human activities continues to encroach on natural environments, thereby destroying the habitats of countless species. Next one is overexploitation. Humankind's relentless consumption of resources such as timber, oil, minerals is continuing to destroy natural habitat around the globe. Next one is agricultural intensification. Growing pressure on food supplies means an increasing proportion of agricultural land is farming intensive. Loss of biodiversity is the extinction of species, that is plant or animal, worldwide, and also loss of species in a certain habitat. These loss of variety of life can lead to a breakdown in a function of ecosystem where decline has happened. Some other causes of loss of biodiversity are climate change, invasive species, and pollution.
Effects of loss of biodiversity. Biodiversity underpins the health of the planet and has a direct impact on all our lives. Put simply, reduced biodiversity means millions of people face a future where food supplies are more vulnerable to pest and disease, and where fresh water is in irregular or short supply. For humans, that is worrying. The main threats facing biodiversity globally are destruction, degradation, and fragmentation of habitats, reduction of individual survival and reproductive rates through exploitation, pollution, and introduction of alien species. Health effects of biodiversity loss, antibiotic resistance illness, allergies due to changed pollen exposures, nutritional deficiencies from
Until now, we have discussed about different climatic changes and loss of biodiversity. Now we will discuss about the different remedies under it. So biodiversity refers to the variability of the life on earth. So it can be conserved in the following ways. That is, there are two ways: institute conversion and exute conversion. Under institute conversion of biodiversity is the conversion of species within their natural habitat. So in this method, the natural ecosystem is maintained and protected. The institute conversion have several advantages. So following are these advantages: it is a cost effective and convenient method of converging biodiversity. Second, a large number of living organisms can be converged simultaneously. Third, since the organisms are in the natural ecosystem, they can be involved better and can easily adjust to the different environmental conditions. So certain protects areas where institute conversion takes place were the national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves. The second is the execute conversion. This is a conversion which involves the breeding and maintenance of endangered species in an artificial ecosystem such as zoos, gardens, banks, etc. So there is a less competition for food, water, and space among the organisms. So they have some advantages. In this, the animals are involved with longer time and breeding activity. The species breeding capacity can be reintroduced in the wild, and the genetic techniques can be used for the preservation of endangered species. Thank you.